today. Okay, karibu sana to the show. Maybe you can introduce us. You're an Embakasi youth leader.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what you do there.
My name is Stephen Odhiambo, the Embakasi youth leader. Where Honorable Babu Wino is the MP. And I'm glad to be here with you today.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're well positioned to talk about some of the things that we have lined up for today, including an impeachment motion against Kirinyaga Governor Anne WAIGURU, but we're going to be touching on that a little later. For now, though, a $20 trillion lawsuit has been filed against Chinese authorities in the U.S. over the corona outbreak. American-based lawyer Larry Klayman and his advocacy group Freedom Watch, along with a Texas company, have filed the lawsuit against the Chinese government. Chinese Army, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, director of Wuhan Institute of Virology, I'm not even going to pronounce the name, and Chinese Army Major General Chen Wei. The plaintiffs have sought $20 trillion, which is an even bigger amount than the Chinese GDP. The plaintiff claimed that the coronavirus is the result of a biological weapon prepared by the Chinese authorities. They allege the virus was released from the Wuhan Virology Institute. They also claim that it was designed to kill mass populations in the fight against China's perceived enemies, such as the United States. Now, Stephen, I don't know what you think about this. Of course, many people there's been a lot of like conspiracy theories in the back end of websites and, you know, those dark WhatsApp groups. Lots of people talking about different conspiracy theories around coronavirus, and many have been stating that this, they believe, is a biological weapon. Do you buy that view?
You know, where there's smoke, there must be fire. On a layman's point of view, I think it might be true. But again, the war between China and US never started just because of this coronavirus that we have now. Remember in 1918 we have the Spanish flu, and the hypothesis was that it came from northern China, which almost killed around 50 million people in the world. And remember, United States was hit so hard with this Spanish flu, which killed almost 500,000 of them. So when again, after around 40 years, we still have the COVID-19 again. US cannot accept this thing. And you'll see, it has affected mostly US, Italy, and also the China, which is the epicenter of this
And that's
pandemic.
the thing, though. I mean, would the government really risk the lives of its own people just to try and make a point and prove a point to other countries? Because China is affected as well.
China is affected, but right now they are hiding the number of which those are affected. They have not produced the right number. You see in Italy, for example, people are dying, and actually they are overwhelmed. The number of which, the rate at which people are dying, it's so hard. Like in US, you see Trump calling it Chinese virus because he believes that this thing is a biological weapon. So I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys can let me know what you think about that as well. 22999 is the SMS line. And turning to other stories, though, happening here in Kenya, retired Nairobi Archbishop MWANA NZEKI has died. He is said to have suffered a long illness, and Cardinal John Jue has announced his predecessor's death, or did announce his predecessor's death, and asked for prayers for the late Archbishop. Besides his role as a religious leader, the late dedicated himself to protection of the weak and the fight for justice. With the ban of public gatherings, however, the late is said to be laid to rest on Tuesday, April 7th. That's this coming week. Only about 100 people will be allowed to the ceremony, locking out politicians and even Catholic clergy and the faithful whom the late mentored and led for more than 60 years in his priesthood. A requiem mass will be held from 10 a.m. and the private ceremony will be televised live, is meant to last for not more than an hour. And I mean, it's just such crazy times we live in. That's such an icon in our country to, you know, we're not able to give him the sort of send-off and celebration that most would desire. Yeah. What are your thoughts about this and about his whole term, and just even the fact that literally this thing has equalized all of us? And even for someone as astounding and as influential as he's been, You know, his burial is not going to be what one would expect.
Of course, but due to the coronavirus, it has to be that way. Actually, even the 100 is a bigger number. I wonder how they are going to sit in that function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we need social distance. It's very much important. Yeah.
Wow. May his soul rest in peace, certainly. And I know, of course, a lot of the faithful from that denomination would be keen to be tuned in for that on Tuesday. All right, let's turn to politics now. There is an impeachment motion against Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru. The ward representatives have accused the executive of buying a vehicle without tendering. However, the governor claimed that the vehicle was bought under the government contracting framework. She accused the MCAs of dwelling on petty issues instead of focusing on the war against the coronavirus pandemic. What's your take on this?
I think the governor is right. The MCA should focus mostly on the health sector and leave alone the motion of impeachment. Right now, at the point at which Kenya is, we are being affected with the coronavirus. We should not be having these political issues right now. Instead of actually the citizens now are focusing on how the leaders are going to help them with this issue of coronavirus. And they are fighting on impeachment motion of a vehicle. What's that? Let them focus on the health sector. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should unite right now, avoid politics. Right now, you see the BBI are not there at all.
Yeah. There's
no politics. But now when they want to politicize everything, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And the impeachment, I'm very sure it's not going to work.
You know, a lot of Kenyans, though, have, and I agree with you, this is not the time to be being petty over issues, but neither is it the time for there to be any misuse of public resources, so that also needs to be assured. But at the same time, a lot of Kenyans are at a point where we're pretty fed up with our political leaders. And now, yani vitu vimenyamaza tu. Because before this, all we were hearing about was BBI. All we were hearing about was 2022. You know, there was nothing else. And now, there's no healthcare system that is providing what Kenyans actually need. So how would you assess how our leaders have actually done? As much as you're saying focus on dealing with coronavirus, do you think they had done enough? That because certainly it seems like we would have been in a much better place today to deal with some of the issues that we're dealing with now if people had been doing what they were supposed to be doing from the beginning.
Joyce, I think at large the government has underestimated the impact of COVID-19, because so far, like, we have only 120 bed isolation in Bagathi, and so far we have 110 cases. Now my question remains, what if we have more than 110 or more than 20 cases? How will we curb this coronavirus? So I think the government specifically, I think the World Bank has issued money. Let us use this money on the health sector. We want to get at least, we have entries like Malaba, we have Namanga. Those are entries. So what we should do, let's work on the health sector there. It's very much important.
But the thing is, I guess, as much as we're saying the World Bank has now given us money, and indeed the World Bank has approved a $50 million grant to support Kenya's war against the coronavirus. This was mentioned by Mr. Kagwe during his briefing. 4 new counties have recorded their first coronavirus cases, and these are Kiambu, Murang'a, Machakos, and Nyamira. Of course, Nairobi is leading in all of this. But this is not the first time that we're receiving money or grants or something. And so the question is, we can't keep saying we're going to get money so that we do. What has happened to all the money that we have been getting? Where are all the taxes that we keep paying? It's still not answering the question which a lot of us Kenyans have is, why hasn't stuff already been done before, right? And even with Corona, we knew this was happening last year. Should we have started preparing earlier?
That's what I'm saying. The government has really underestimated the COVID-19, and they should at least gear up and find a solution to help Kenyans. You know, like in Nairobi, we have slums which are densely populated, and I wonder how they're going to keep distance. Most of those who stay in slums, they stay so closely. You find in one house you have like 5 people staying there. The government should, at least in Kenya, people lack gloves, they lack masks, some don't have sanitizers. The sanitizers at them are so much expensive. You get somebody who is staying in slum, don't expect him to buy a sanitizer at 800 shillings, even 500 shillings, and there is no food. And we're also expecting a lockdown in the country. How are we going to survive?
But I guess what can we expect from our MCAs, our MPs, our youth leaders like yourself, during this time? Because it seems that all we're doing is pegging this on national government. Like, we're just looking at Uhuru Kenyatta and Mutahi Kagwe. Yet we have a whole slew of other leaders that were elected and appointed by Kenyan citizens.
Yes.
What are some of the things then that these MPs should be doing? Like, should we not be seeing proposals or initiatives coming to the fore, or is that now too much of an expectation at this point?
This disease does not scare whether you're an MP or you're an MCA or whether you're a common mwananchi. The thing is, the MPs, although they should work hard, they should issue sanitizers, but all this is money. When there's no money, there's nothing that can be done. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break there with Stephen. Thank you very much for coming to the show. We do appreciate your company. And right now, we're going to take a break and then jump into our man cave discussion. That's coming up next, talking about why men are so hesitant to jump and get therapy. Okay, that conversation is coming up next. Stay tuned. This is Full Circle with Joyce.